Hey, you guys. So I know it's been a while, probably like 2 years since I've actually done a video about my cosmetic line, Angelique DeVille. So first off, I want to say thank you so much for the continued support and the orders that continue to come in. I honestly I'm so touched and it continues to fuel me because I have no idea how on earth I keep getting orders for the product. Now I know that I have an amazing product, but I haven't done anything to promote it, especially for the past year. So thank you. Thank you so much. With all my heart. It continues to drive me to do what I am so very passionate about and always have been. This video is going to be not a tutorial, but I wanted to give you a background and kind of some information as to why I got into this and how I developed the expertise that I have in it and what made me develop my own line. So just to give you an idea, I think my first experience with makeup was back in probably the 4th grade. I was one of those, I was wearing light blue eyeshadow from Wet n Wild, and I would wear that every day. And I'm not sure that it was in style back then, but I tried to rock it out as much as possible. And then I also got into mascara, so I was always into my eyes. In high school, I got terrible acne. So at that point, and I was living in Florida at the time, mind you. So you can imagine going to the beach, skipping class, going to the beach with my best friend, my girlfriends during school, pretending like we were supposed to be in school. Anyway, I wore foundation everywhere because I was so self-conscious about my acne. I had no way. I tried every way to get rid of it. I think I had every product on the market to try to get rid of it. I went to a dermatologist that tried to get rid of it, but it never went away. So I was constantly wearing foundation. It was a blessing in the end, but in the time it was very self-conscious time for me. As a teenager, I think we all are kind of self-conscious during that time. But anyway, I wore that makeup, and thank God I did, because that's the only reason my face, like the rest of my body, is completely sun damaged from lying out on in the beach, Siesta Beach, with baby oil. I think I put iodine in it sometimes. No sunscreen. I was against sunscreen, but the foundation always had sunscreen in it. So thank God for that, or I would be a freaking hot mess, more so than I already am. And after that, I went to college, majored in psychology. I worked I was hired in Dillard's at an Estee Lauder counter, which was my very first professional experience in cosmetics and makeup. And I'll never forget that experience. It was such an amazing, Estee Lauder for one, she is my idol, one of my idols. Amazing woman. She started with nothing, created a face cream and made it into, well, what it is today. Estee Lauder, they own, MAC, they own Bobbi Brown, all of that is Estee. So many companies have been purchased by Estee Lauder. But learned a lot with dealing with women, because it was probably the first time that I was dealing one-on-one with women, and I found that to be very healing and comforting, because we were sharing insecurities and really connecting on a level not just about the makeup. I realized at that point it wasn't just about the superficial, the makeup. It was about women and kind of sharing our insecurities and what areas that we wanted to fix. And I think as women, we are so hard on ourselves, and it's just how we're wired, I guess. Because now I work as a plastic surgery consultant as well, and it is what it is. Anyway, training there is amazing. It learned about sales and I don't know, I learned a lot there. Then after that, I was in banking, graduated from college with my psychology degree. I happened to get into I was hired as a financial advisor, stockbroker, and I did that for a while. I was never passionate about it really. It wasn't interesting. I was interested in it, and I'll never forget that experience because I was working with all men in an office of all men, which is the exact opposite of Estee Lauder. And also calling, trying to develop my own book, calling directly from the phone book at the time, which phone books existed back then. So yeah, I'm old. I'm 40. Light blue, frosted eyeshadow, Wet n Wild, phone books, all that. Anyway, after the 9/11 attacks, I remember being in the office and watching that, because as a stockbroker, that's what you do. You watch that all day long. And obviously the markets closed or never opened, whatever. That day, a few months later, it changed. It was a turning point in my life where I changed course, and I was hired at a MAC cosmetic store. The first one in that area that I was living, Sarasota, Florida. Amazing team. One of the best experiences of my life. I am still to this day friends with a lot of those men and women that I worked with. So, and MAC is owned by Estee Lauder, but MAC was more of an artistry brand. It was more of a makeup artist line. So the training I got from them was unbelievable. I remember, and I still have the book to this day. It's a black book. It's got every ingredient. It's got color. They go over color theory. They challenge you each day as a makeup artist to get better to different levels. Give you so many challenges that you have to achieve to continue to grow with a company. And I really fine-tuned my makeup artistry skills as well as management skills, dealing with women again, which I always loved. And that changed me. That was really one of the biggest things that led me to where I am today. After MAC, I decided that I was a badass makeup artist. I'm going to come to LA and kick ass and all that. So I moved out to Los Angeles by myself in 2007 and came here not realizing that there are many millions probably of talented, amazingly talented makeup artists out here. So here I am coming out thinking I'm gonna make it here. And I'm not realizing that the competition that I was gonna encounter, especially having my own thing going at the time. I had never done it on my own. So I was out by myself here in LA trying to make my own business as a freelance makeup artist, and I got my ass handed to me, I'm not gonna lie. I would encounter, I worked with great photographers, but a lot of them wanted to do trades, which means you don't get paid. And that was my first experience with that. I'd always gotten paid to do makeup, except until I moved here. And so I couldn't pay my bills. I had a huge rent. I was living in Malibu, and I could not afford to pay that. With help from my friends, my family, my mom, my dad, my grandmother, thank God for them. They helped pay my bills really for that time. And I also took on a lot of side jobs. I was a bartender. I was a go-go dancer, entertainer, like that kind of dancer. Went from in Los Angeles and in Las Vegas. So that experience was changing as well. I learned, well, when you're on stage, the lighting is different, so you have to make sure your whole body looks good. And I did that with as a makeup artist and the fitness models and all that I dealt with as well. But when it's yourself, it's a little different. So anyway, that happened. I moved back to Florida. I was married with a family with some stepkids at the time, and came back to Florida. Was hired with Bare Essentials, which is an amazing company as well. Unfortunately, as the manager, I opened the store in Sarasota. I was one of the very few, because their products are very natural, and they do amazing things for people that have had issues with their skin. And I have a lot of respect for the company. At the time, it was hard for me because like I said, I was one of the very few that could not wear that product without having a reaction, and it felt itchy. It didn't work for me, and I would have asthma. I would have allergies after I came home from working long days. That led me into actually really researching ingredients and why I was getting these reactions and all that. And I pulled out my old MacBook and I started researching the ingredients in there as well, because not all of the MAC products worked for me either. And a lot of the, the pigments and certain colors wouldn't work. So I did a massive amount of research on ingredients at that time in my life. And unfortunately I got, well, it's not unfortunate though, because it was a blessing in disguise. It was I posted something not that nice on Facebook while I was still a manager at that company, which was uncalled for. I got fired for it, which I deserved to be fired for it. I would fire somebody if they posted anything like that about, if they were working for me and I did that. So, but anyway, it led me to create my own company. And with the help of my grandmother, my mother, my father, and the people that really believed in me, I started messing around with different ingredients and concocting my own moisturizers. And the first product I developed was a product called Showgirl Shine. And I incorporated the showgirl aspect of it because I was, dancing in Vegas and go-go dancing in LA. And knowing that, and then also working with so many models and fitness models that would oftentimes, because a lot, in Florida and LA, you do tons of beach shoots. So I would see the horrible self-tans they had. And with the fitness models, they had to wear very dark product for competitions. So a lot of those would come to me after the competitions and still have remnants of that product on their skin. I would need to even that out, for the photographers to get a good shot. And I developed the product of Showgirl Shine, which was Showgirl Shine Curve Detailer. I incorporated my love of cars with that, and the logo, it was a Corvette, which I have them on my 4th Corvette, so things don't change much. But anyway, I developed that, and it was, I made it in bronze and chrome, and it kind of like added, it was a Showgirl Shine Curve Detailer, kind of marketed as like a wax, a car wax, but for the body, obviously for females to smooth out their skin tone. And that was super popular. My friends, my family loved it. They loved the fragrance. I kept getting orders and orders and orders, but it was really hard for me to keep up with that as far as, continue to build the product and all that. So a few years later, I guess, I started to, I got into the eye part. I've always loved mascara, and the thing I was running into with a lot of the mascaras, the products would dry out my eyelashes. And I knew from MAC that waterproof mascara was bad for your eyelashes. It would dry them out and all that. But I was running into my eyelashes kind of falling out with regular mascara that was not waterproof. So I started to research that, thinking, why is this happening? And then I developed the Devil Ash and the Devil Ash primer and all of that. And then I kind of turned into the eyeliners, because obviously eyes and all that. All of my time and so far experience on this earth has been so many ups and downs, failures, successes, getting my ass handed to me many times in relationships and business and everything else. So the name itself, I wanted to explain that to you. I came up with Angelique DeVille for number one, it was my stage name. Number two, but the stage name developed because I'll never forget I'm a very passionate person. I'm very intense. So one of the managers at MAC that I was working with used to call me Devila at times. Devila, because my name is Angela. So she would make fun of me and just jokingly say that. And I thought, And then my psychology background came in, and I thought, Carl Jung was one of my favorite psychologists to study in college. And he was very into that light, dark, the duality. And my slogan, kind of embrace your individuality, duality being highlighted, is in the sense that we all have good and bad. We all have good and bad qualities. We're human. And it almost takes dark to experience the light, and vice versa. And that goes through your life, that goes through everything on a deep level, on the psychology level. But in makeup as well, you know, women, we don't always have to be one way. Some, you know, during your wedding, you want to be clean and beautiful and innocent and that kind of look. And then there's times where you want to be very vampy and sexy and sultry. So the makeup itself, it allows women and men to kind of embrace both sides to that, and I really love that. And that's how the name came about. So that's the background on it in a very long video that I don't even know if anybody's still watching because it might be boring as hell, but whatever. Anyway, I have the Moon Eye show coming up next week. This is going to be, I'm going to put this, take the line from, has been on the back burner, put it to the front burner. This past year has been very hard for me, and that's why I have completely abandoned it as well. My mother was suffering from a very rare form of cancer, and she passed away this year. She was my very best friend and always believed in me. So I owe it to her and myself. Commercial, but and I turned 40. So you realize, I think, when you lose somebody so important to you, that life is short. You fucking better do what you love. So I'm doing what I love. I hope to see you guys soon. You'll see a lot of new products coming out, and I'll be at the Moon Eye show this weekend. And for all my car girls and gals, I hope to see you guys there. And thanks again. Mwah.